We bought a two-bedroom apartment in Cyprus, hoping to sort of live the dream. We initially thought it might be a good investment, which we expected it to be, but unfortunately that's not how it turned out. The purchase price and the delivery time of the apartment was a year too late, and it turned out that the initial costings of the apartment were far away from what they actually quoted initially in the interim. And we ended up paying something like 4 times the amount of mortgage that we anticipated we were going to pay, which made it unaffordable. We had reservations about what was going on in the area at the time with the developer and the bank, and it got to the point where it became untenable. The costings for the property were ridiculous. So then we looked at approaching the bank, who weren't interested. We approached the developer. They weren't interested in helping us out in any way, shape or form. In fact, the opposite. It became a bit of a battle. They were very aggressive, unwilling to listen to what we had to say. They were unwilling to admit anything, when quite evidently things were not done as they should have been done. I went to my development and I met a person there who knew Neil and Judicare and their company. So I contacted Neil direct, went to one of his seminars, kind of trusted him from the outset. He seemed to know what he was talking about. He was telling me the things that I already knew about the government, the banks and the developer. And the most important thing for me was his team that worked for him were all Cypriot, and they all agreed that it was missold. After the initial contact with him, we were getting bombarded by the bank because we were given advice by Neil and Judicare to suspend any further payments relating to the mortgage and the running costs of the development. We then got bullied by the developer and by the bank for not paying it. Judicare reassured me that it was a process. He continued with the process and helped us out. He contacted the bank direct. The bank then stopped threatening us. The developer stopped threatening us. And it would appear that a process then was in place. And then his barristers contacted us, and it kind of put us at ease, put us at rest, put me in a better frame of mind. Never made any promises, but told me that we weren't the only people in this situation. And we did feel a bit isolated. We felt threatened. We felt like there was a chance that we might lose our own home. And I guess in the long term, that may have been a possibility. But fortunately, Judicare did away with all that and came to a settlement that was agreeable by us, the banks, with the help of Judicare themselves. The litigation paperwork is very complicated. The process of going to court is very frightening and difficult to understand. So part of their service was making me understand about how Cypriot law works, and how I didn't really need to be threatened by what I was seeing. It's a waiting game. You have to spend a long time waiting to see what happens. Judicare gave me the confidence that there was a process happening, because you tend to think that it's going on and nothing's ever going to come to the end. He often would conclude certain areas and then we'd have to move on to the next stage, and then he would explain to me how the process works, why it had to work in that way. As a lot of people, you become impatient. The more impatient you are, the more worried you become. So he kind of done away with a lot of that by giving me the answers, the paperwork, the information, talking me through, without giving away anything from other clients, what their process was, where we were as a group and where I was as an individual, because everybody was there for different reasons. They may have wanted to keep the property, it might have just been a bank issue, whatever it would have been. So my issue, although it may have been similar, I always felt like he had my interests at heart. Whenever I had an issue, I could ring him, or any of the people that worked for him. They didn't tell me what I want to hear, but they would put things into place to try and give me an answer. Within a few days, I would get that answer, whether I liked it or not. and then what we were going to do about the forthcoming situation. So there's a long drawn out court battle, which we were worried about. But again, he just gave us the information, told us how the process works. The Cypriot barristers worked in conjunction with him, kept in contact with me direct. And yeah, I would absolutely recommend Judicare, particularly Neil, who came to a resolution, a conclusion that I was happy with, he was more than happy with, and I believe the banks were more than happy with.